Have you ever looked at a beehive and thought they are just insects searching for flowers? You are deeply mistaken. What happens inside those wax frames is not just foraging, but a biological engineering marvel so advanced it humbles our own modern human cities. Under the darkness of your hive, there is a complex sonic communication network, an architecture calculated to exact degrees, and a cellular sacrifice system nobody has ever told you about. The vast majority of producers spend their entire lives focused strictly on extracting honey, completely ignoring the hidden machinery that sustains the whole system. Ignoring these biological processes is walking blind, risking the effort of an entire season by failing to read the precise silent warnings of the comb. A strong apiary is born from the absolute understanding of its internal rules of perpetuation. Today, we will dismantle that dark veil entirely. Forget everything that you think you know, because here are the 12 things you did not know about bee reproduction. Vital secrets that every expert breeder must master to prevent a sudden farm collapse. Let's begin. Number 1. The drone's ultimate sacrifice, the mating flight. The mating flight seals the future of thousands of worker bees, functioning as the ultimate test of colony vitality. For the drone, the reproductive male of the colony, this flight is a literal suicide mission designed by nature to maintain high genetic strength across generations. Many seasoned producers think drones just consume winter honey reserves, believing these males contribute no physical labor to the hive. However, their sole purpose lies in this exact moment of ultimate sacrifice. When a virgin queen leaves the apiary and ascends to the drone congregation areas, dozens of aggressive males chase her in the open air at incredibly high speeds. The strongest one reaches her and copulates in mid-air, transferring his entire genetic material in a matter of seconds. The steep price of this reproductive success is his own life. During the act, the drone's reproductive tissue detaches from his body, ending his life instantly. The male falls to the ground lifeless immediately after, completing a harsh biological exchange. The individual is willingly sacrificed to keep the maternal line strong, ensuring the survival of the entire swarm. This relentless cycle is the foundation of farm stability. Number 2. The queen's genetic vault, the spermatheca. After surviving the dangerous mating flight, the queen returns to the brood chamber carrying an extraordinary anatomical secret that sets her apart from any standard farm animal. She never needs to copulate again to produce offspring for the rest of her productive lifespan, a feat made possible by a highly specialized internal organ. This organ functions as a biological preservation vault kept safely at room temperature, allowing the queen to store genetic material from up to 20 different drones inside her abdomen. She keeps this material viable for several years without any degradation, voluntarily managing these valuable genetic reserves every single time she decides to fertilize an egg. With a simple muscle contraction, she controls the release of a minute amount of sperm during egg laying, which ensures maximum efficiency of the collected material over time. This impressive mechanism gives her absolute reproductive independence, while also guaranteeing the colony maintains a wide genetic diversity across multiple changing seasons. It is a brilliant biological strategy that drastically reduces the risk of exposing the main female to external weather threats and predators ever again, establishing this internal vault as the absolute core of your farm's future. Number 3. Diet as destiny, the royal switch. The most intriguing aspect of hive breeding is the identical starting point of the workers, since all female larvae are born with the exact same genetic potential on the wax frame. The massive difference between a sterile worker and a ruling queen is not in their blood, but entirely in their initial diet. During the first 3 days, all larvae receive pure royal jelly, but then the vast majority switch to a standard mix of pollen and honey. This dietary change permanently locks away their reproductive potential. However, the nurse bees select a few specific larvae to succeed the throne, flooding these chosen cells exclusively with pure royal jelly until the cocoon is finally capped. This massive protein overdose acts as a hard biological switch that triggers the rapid growth of functional ovaries and specialized reproductive organs. Observing this strict nutritional control is an unmatched farm management lesson, proving that the workers themselves decide who takes command of the colony based on precise differential feeding. This spectacular process transforms a common individual into a laying machine capable of producing thousands of eggs daily. It truly highlights the evolutionary genius of this incredible species. Number 4. Virgin birth, the genetic filter. When inspecting the brood frames, an experienced farmer can read the origin of each individual easily just by observing the exact placement of the egg. Bees possess a reproductive ability completely absent in standard farm mammals or birds, allowing them to create life without mixing any male genetic material. The main female controls the entire lineage by deciding the fate of each cell she visits. If she deposits an egg while passing through the sperm vault, she creates a worker or a future monarch. and both will carry a double genetic load. But if she skips that step and deposits an unfertilized egg, it still develops perfectly into a healthy, functional drone. This natural process ensures all males carry only their mother's specific genetic heritage, serving as a powerful tool for pure biological selection on your farm. This deep understanding gives you the power to evaluate maternal genetics without outside variables. Seeing a frame full of solid drone brood shows the direct strength of the maternal line manifesting clearly in every single hexagonal cell of the comb, which stands as the ultimate test for any productive breeder aiming for total genetic control. Number 5. The Shadow Royal Battle, the Sister Duel. The birth of a new matriarch is never a peaceful event inside the colony. Instead, it is a brutal survival contest where only one dominant individual can remain. When the swarm decides to renew its leadership, the workers build several special queen cells, raising multiple candidates simultaneously as a security measure against potential failures. However, nature does not allow divided hierarchies in this complex organism. The first fertile female to emerge has a relentless initial task, with basic survival instincts dictating her every move from the very first second. Before seeking food or even flying, she quickly tracks the wax cells of her unborn sisters. Using her smooth stinger, she pierces the thick wax walls and eliminates the other candidates while they are still in the developing stage, securing her absolute reproductive monopoly. If two queens hatch at the exact same time, they engage in physical combat on the comb until one falls. Finding torn royal cells on the sides is a clear indicator that the new successor claimed her territory with total authority, guaranteeing your apiary remains stable during this massive internal change, protecting your strongest genetics from unnecessary risks. Number 6. The living incubator, temperature control. Unlike other areas on the farm, the central comb functions as an autonomous living incubator where the weather does not dictate the work pace. For the delicate offspring to develop without lethal malformations, the nest requires strict thermal stability, meaning it must remain at a constant temperature of 93 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of outside frost or scorching summer sun. The nurse bees responsible for this critical area act as winged thermal sensors, adjusting the internal conditions minute by minute. If the temperature drops, these protectors group tightly over the cells, decoupling their flight muscles and vibrating intensely to generate collective body heat that raises the degrees in moments. Conversely, if the outside weather threatens to overheat the brood zone, they take immediate action by bringing tiny water droplets and spreading them over the frames. They beat their wings at strategic points to create cool air currents, evaporating the water and cooling the entire panel through active air conditioning. This precise climate management guarantees healthy offspring year-round, showcasing a brilliant display of collective temperature control that keeps your apiary thriving without pause, proving the sheer efficiency of these remarkable insects. Number 7. The map drawn in the dark, the recruitment dance. For the brood nest to thrive, the influx of resources must be constant and massive, but foraging worker bees don't fly blindly relying on sheer luck. When a scout finds a rich source of nectar or pollen, she returns to the central hive to share the crucial data, and she executes a precise pattern of vibratory movements over the wax panels. In the total darkness of the colony, her sisters don't see this famous waggle dance, but they perceive it by feeling the intense vibrations through their sensitive antennae. The angle of her run relative to gravity indicates the exact direction toward the sun outside, while the duration of her buzzing reveals the precise distance in miles to the floral target. This highly advanced communication system quickly transforms thousands of isolated individuals into a massively efficient directed collection network. As a seasoned producer, noticing a frantic influx of uniform pollen confirms a successful mission, which shows the swarm decoded these complex coordinates perfectly. Without this physical map transmitted body to body, food reserves would collapse rapidly, and the queen would stop her rate of lay. This stops the colony's rotation strategy and ruins farm profitability. Proving this vital communication ensures your apiary survives the hardest seasons. Number 8. The point of no return, the nurse bee sacrifice. The initial feeding of the delicate larvae doesn't come directly from raw nectar brought from the field because it originates from the internal bodily reserves of young adult bees. During their first days of life, these dedicated nurse bees develop special glands inside their heads that secrete a high-density liquid food required for early brood growth. Producing this vital nutrition requires them to consume massive amounts of stored pollen, and they process these raw proteins directly through their own cellular tissues. This represents a truly intense biological energy transfer, where nurse bees irreversibly shorten their own productive lifespan by giving up their organic nutrients. They do this so the next generation can form correctly inside the wax cells. If the outside weather turns severe and the resource flow stops, these protectors adapt instantly, and they continue to feed the open brood by depleting their body fat reserves. They gladly perish from functional weakness if the critical situation demands it. As I've witnessed in my own apiary during harsh seasons, this sacrifice is a painful but necessary reality for survival. A hive lacking optimal pollen reserves ages prematurely, meaning you're literally burning your young workforce. Number 9. The security architecture, the calculated comb tilt. At first glance, the wax frames appear to be a uniform flat grid, but they hide a brilliant structural design created specifically to prevent internal disasters. The bees never build these hexagonal cells at a straight right angle relative to the central foundation, and if you inspect the surface or make a cross-section cut, you notice a specific detail. Each individual hexagon has a slight, sustained upward elevation of exactly 13 degrees, which is not a random construction accident. This specific angle protects the next generation of your apiary. The firm inclination functions as a permanent physical barrier against the constant pull of gravity. Initially, it ensures the vital liquid food deposited by the nurse bees doesn't spill out. Later in the cycle, the fragile larva increases its body mass drastically, and the tilt prevents the heavy grub from sliding out of the narrow compartment before the workers cap the protective cocoon. It's a highly ingenious physical support solution, executed flawlessly under total visual darkness inside the hive. The next time you lift a heavy frame full of uniform brood, remember this simple fact, because that calculated geometry is the true structural safety net securing your farm operation. Number 10. The internal sanitary filter, the propolis varnish. The central area of the brood chamber is an extremely warm and humid environment, which naturally creates the perfect conditions for the rapid spread of dangerous fungi and bacteria. To prevent various diseases from decimating the developing larvae, the bees execute an unbreakable disinfection protocol. Specialized workers collect sticky plant resins from outside trees and mix them to form propolis, a dark compound that possesses proven antimicrobial chemical properties. The main female will eventually visit an empty section to lay new eggs, but before she arrives, cleaner bees aggressively scrape and polish the walls of each hexagon. They apply an extremely thin protective layer of this purifying material, and this dark coating acts as a potent sterilizing shield. It completely isolates the future offspring from any latent pathogens hiding in the old wax structure. If a compartment doesn't meet this rigorous cleaning standard, the matriarch detects it quickly with her tactile sensors, and she absolutely refuses to lay an egg in that specific spot. For the attentive producer, slightly darkened edges in the brood core never represent simple dirt, because they are the undeniable proof of a relentless prophylactic system working to guarantee strong hatches. Number 11. The emergency rationing, selective brood cannibalization. The natural instinct of bees excludes any sentimentality when the structural survival of the group faces an imminent threat. During regular apiary management, we know long droughts or extensive rains abruptly cut the nectar flow, which causes the internal pollen reserves to drop to a critical level. When it becomes impossible to feed the entire population during peak growth, the swarm takes radical biological action. The workers abruptly stop caring for the larvae that are only a few days old, and they immediately proceed to consume them to recover the valuable proteins invested in their tiny bodies. This harsh organic recycling instantly halts demographic growth, while it quickly returns essential nutrients to the active adult individuals who must protect the queen. It's a ruthless discarding method where future potential is sacrificed to preserve the present unit. Finding removed brood or sudden empty patches in the frame during a bloom crisis is an undeniable alarm that tells the seasoned producer the colony entered in extreme saving mode. They eat their own offspring to dodge an inevitable massive death by starvation. As I've witnessed in my own apiary, you must intervene immediately to stop this heavy loss, because this guarantees the active colony survives another bloom. Number 12. The impossible divide, the natural swarm. Normally, we evaluate continuous daily egg laying as the central mechanism of your apiary growth, but that process only adds members inside a single physical structure. The authentic multiplication of the species in the wild occurs when a highly developed colony decides to fracture in half. Upon reaching the physical capacity limit of the hive, workers trigger a strong migratory impulse that changes the entire rhythm of daily labor completely. They build special royal enclosures to secure a solid air, and then they force the main queen to drastically reduce her daily diet, which makes her drop the necessary body weight required to take flight. Under optimal weather conditions, nearly half the workforce abandons the apiary simultaneously, and they load their bellies with honey to build a new exterior refuge. This massive natural exodus heavily reduces the operational field strength and your final harvest capacity, yet it's undoubtedly the greatest biological and evolutionary success of this insect. This powerful instinct is impossible to suppress entirely, so as an expert producer, you must identify this evident premature saturation early. Executing timely split divisions in early spring allows you to channel that productive energy into your modern farm, doing so quite intelligently. Understanding these 12 biological processes radically transforms your technical vision of the apiary, because you are no longer a simple gatherer who just removes full frames. You become a strategic manager capable of anticipating the complex needs of your entire population. Understanding the cellular sacrifice, the exact architecture, and the preventative reaction against hostile climates gives you a massive advantage. You can intervene correctly to prevent heavy colony losses early on, and the farm prospers when you adapt your management style to the flawless execution these workers display inside the central brood chamber. Everything connects perfectly to ensure the ongoing survival of your active colony and farm profitability. Let me know in the comments, which of these biological dynamics has impacted your apiary the most, or have you personally witnessed the cannibalization of brood during a nectar dearth? If you got some value out of this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so we can keep bringing you our practical farm advice every single week. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.